This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Mike Whitlow, who's the new appointed COO of ECR Minerals. Mike, how are you doing? Of course, normally we talk to you as Doc Holliday on our podcast, talking about all things in the markets and what's going on, but you've now got an official board position. How has this come about?
I was invited to make a proposal to the company to join, and the board of directors believed that was an acceptable one. Nick Tulloch and I have worked together successfully on a number of other projects. We've raised funds for other businesses that have now gone 2-3 times up in valuation, and we've had a number of successful work programs in the Mediterranean and North America, where we've actually advanced the business into drilling during the summer. So for people out there who might say, Mike Whitlow, COO of ECR Minerals, how did that happen? I come from a sort of engineering background, working in oil, gas and power downstream. And over the last few years, I've kind of lost some of my enthusiasm for simply just investing in companies. I wanted to get a little bit more hands-on and apply some of the new skills over the last 15 years with some of the ones that perhaps I entered into as a younger man. So for us, it's a really exciting time. I understand some shareholders may be disappointed with the recently announced fundraise. That was out of our hands. It's an absolute necessary evil in order to move things forward, but want investors to know that we are aligned with you. Nick and I came in on a share-based package, which we will only receive if the shares in the company go up, right? So if investors back me and the share price increases, I get paid. And if they back me and I fail, I don't get paid. I look pretty silly. And I'm sure the board won't want to keep us around too much longer. So we're very confident. We're very confident that we can do a great job here.
Well, you, of course, have had a lot of experience, haven't you, in trading. You did it for a long time, trading, investing. You know, that's what we talk about on our podcast quite a lot. Why did you want to take on such a responsibility, may I ask?
I'll be honest with you. You know, we've looked at companies that have been the darlings of AIM over the years, and they've had these sort of really big market capitalizations and valuations, and I've often looked at some of them and thought, God, those assets don't look like they support that valuation. And I've been pretty critical of it. But at the same time, what I've been quite successful in is finding companies that are undervalued, where perhaps the market's forgotten that the company actually has any assets, or they've fallen out of love with a management team, and then look to them to take an investment and try and get them, on the wave of a recovery and ride that crest of the wave as much as possible. And I genuinely believe that, ECR have got those assets. I think, Victoria, whilst the results have perhaps disappointed over recent years, it's not easy geology and terrain, and it never has been. But we do know that the company divested one of its assets to Fosterville, and it was spun out into Fosterville South. I think they sold it for £500,000. It was one of the non-core assets, and it was out in the market at £40 million at IPO, and that thing went up north of £100 million. So were the assets terrible in Victoria back then? I don't know. We're going to do an appraisal. We're going to do a review internally, Mark. But I think there's some value there. We've got a property for sale, which is a material amount of cash. There's a valuation there, and there's an inventory. We've got a multifunctional RC diamond drilling rig that's sitting there brand new and never been used. Can we utilize it? Can we, put it out and hire it and get something back for it? Do we sell it? And there's a whole bunch of inventory. So this company is not just about a business that perhaps has fallen on hard times. Assets are a bit, wishy-washy, and a management team that are not capable. We think that there's a bit more to it, and re-educating the market and perhaps getting under the lid and the bonnet and seeing what's going on under there and articulating that is going to be the key to our first step to recovery. And then after that, it's really going to be about engaging with the shareholder community and the investment community and getting those guys involved. And I think the secondary market is a place I know as well, if not better than most.
Well, I mean, if anyone knows companies more than anyone on the AIM market these days. You're probably up there as one of those people with all the research that you do. You're very involved, and I know you have your own little podcast as well where you talk in depth about different investment opportunities. I guess it's fair to say then that you see ECR as a pretty undervalued company, given some of the perhaps potential there you see in the properties. Fair to say as well that maybe you yourself got frustrated that the value wasn't being recognised for whatever reason, and you've decided to really just get involved and effectively do it yourself?
Look, 2015, I think it was, somewhere a number of years ago, 8 years ago. A friend of mine at the time, who's now CEO of a company, looked at a business called ECR Minerals, and it was, in my opinion, being poorly managed. The CEO at the time was taking an extortionate amount of cash for the role that he was fulfilling, and we were bitterly disappointed. So we became a bit of activists at the time, and that guy left the company, and we had all sorts of ideas about what we could do with that business back in those days. And unfortunately, the shares went up by 4 or 5 times the multiple, and it was at that point we said, well, anybody who's backed us in our activism has made a lot of money, and we're gonna hand this to the CFO, who became the CEO, and sadly he passed away a year or two back, in Craig Brown. So I've had my eye on this company for a lot of years. I've done very, very well out of it in the past. I've helped support and finance it during Craig's time as CEO, and I've kept a close eye on what's been going on. And I just think, yes, it's been frustrating to see the business find itself in this position. But they're not on their own. Let's be fair to the management team going out, and of course the board of directors that are still in. It's been a very challenging period, and it's been a very, very challenging market. But at the same time, if you've not got that energy and aspiration, then unfortunately this thing and many of these companies will never get going again. And we know that there's a big injection needed. We understand the power of structuring companies and funding the right way. We understand that we have to get out there and start talking to the market. And I think we just need to show a little bit of ambition and a sprinkle of honesty about where we are as a business. Okay. But at this current level, in my opinion, we're priced to go the right direction. And such, as I said earlier, Nick and myself have come in on a remuneration package which is based on success.
Based on success. Well, it's a bit of a new venture for you, isn't it? I look forward to seeing what you do really with the company once you get in the door. I would assume you'd want to communicate. It's very important to you, I think, that transparency. Communicate what you want to do in the plans as soon as you can, really, to shareholders.
No, for sure. I mean, we've got a full appraisal that we're underway with now. We've really only been at the coalface for a few days, or less than a week at this point. We need to do a full appraisal and a review, and then we can have some absolute confidence, conviction in the messaging that we put out there. But the messaging for now is we're motivated, we're hungry. There's a lot of desire and ambition, and we've had success privately with businesses. We've had success publicly, and we want to replicate that. I'm sure you'll be hearing from the board of directors in due course too. There's a lot of energy there now. Everybody's starting to waken up again, and look, we're going to look for whatever opportunities are required to start seeing that value recognition come back to a company that once was very, very liquid and of great interest to the market.
Well, we've certainly seen when companies can get turned around, haven't we? I mean, I just take GGP for an example. Again, a company operating gold in Australia there. That was a dead company. The board was pretty demotivated, and it didn't take much to turn it around. And of course, the discovery helped as well, but one of the best success stories of AIM. Not putting that pressure on you to do that at ECR, Mike, but just an example there of what can happen when a new board comes in who's motivated with some good prospects. So, well, thank you very much for giving us that insight there into what's going on. I'm sure we'll be talking again quite a lot more in the future. But Mike, the new COO of ECR, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Cheers, Matt. You'll be hearing again from me soon. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to the investors today.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.